After my warm-up video the other day, it's time to go back and go through the basics so you can set up a similar warm-up of your own. So let's do that. Hi, I'm Brian from Airflow Music. Welcome back to another trumpet quarren tips video. In the first video in this series, I demonstrated how I like to warm up. And as I said at the time, that's what I do, but certain aspects of it I've been doing for a very long time, so I don't necessarily recommend it as a starting point for all of you. There's certain things you need to build up to. So, as promised, here's the video where I go back through the basics and share the basic version of some of these exercises that you can make a start with. So, first of all, there seemed to be some confusion as into how long my warm-up tends to take. That video the other day was kind of long, but also I was explaining a lot as I went along. When I warm up and I just sit down and do so, that's a process that takes me really not more than 10 minutes. To go through all the various parts of fluttering my lips, buzzing the mouthpiece, playing the first things on the horn, and then even that bending series that I demonstrated. All told, that's right around 10 minutes. And this is important because really we have to remember that what we're doing is warming up. This is not practicing. So before I get into the basics of how this works, there's just a couple of things to think about. A warm-up is what we do, and you'll know this if you do any kind of sport or you like to exercise. The warm-up is what we do to get loosened up before we exercise. So it's what we need to do before we practice, before we go play a concert, before anything else. Okay? It's the first thing we're going to do related to the trumpet during a day that we're going to play the trumpet. So it needn't necessarily take a long time, and it doesn't need to include things that we also need to maintain in terms of exercises and fundamentals or be practicing. In actual fact, when I think of my daily routine, it's broken into 3 definite sections. There's the warm-up itself, which doesn't tend to vary very much at all, and then there's my daily maintenance, which is where I go through exercises and fundamentals that I need to maintain, I need to keep on top of to make sure that I can play the things that I need to play. And then the third section is practicing in the strictest sense, which is the section I think of as being where I'm learning new things. Working on skills I need to develop, working on things that I don't have under my fingers already, stuff that's new. That could be exercises, technique things, that could be repertoire. Okay? So the same goes whether I'm thinking technically or musically. So we've got that out of the way. Good. Now, coming to the warm-up itself, there's a couple parts to this, as you saw. The first part is getting properly relaxed and clearing the lactate out from yesterday, from your lips and the muscles that you used yesterday, that builds up to help everything heal and feel better, but is also responsible for that puffy feeling in the morning where nothing quite wants to move. Okay? There's 2 things we need to do to get rid of that. The first is, particularly early in the day, we need to hydrate. We need to drink some water because all our skin and muscles and all that stuff is predominantly made of water. And particularly for those of us who live in cities and deal with a lot of pollution and things like that, then we are usually living, unless we're really hydrating fastidiously, in a partial state of dehydration. So much environmental stuff going around that will dry us out. So, staying hydrated is very important. It will make the skin and muscles more elastic and easier to get moving. The second thing is we need to clear the lactate away, as I said, and we need to get the blood flowing to do that. So that's where the fluttering comes in. In order to do that, all we need to do is take a nice deep breath. Then we need to sigh the air out just with enough intensity that we can get the lips moving in that airstream. It goes like this. Now, you're just going to do that for each breath and sustain it as long as you can. We're not blowing or moving a large amount of air particularly. That can be released fairly slowly. And we're trying to be relaxed with our lips. So we're not forcing anything. The air isn't moving especially fast, especially hard. So that should be fairly easy to sustain. But that's something to watch out for, and trying to sustain it longer and longer is a worthwhile skill to develop as you get used to fluttering your lips this way every day. Okay? And so as we do that fluttering, we're trying to sustain. We're probably going to hopefully end up doing somewhere between probably 3 and 4 flutters a minute. And all told, we want to be fluttering our lips for about 2 to 3 minutes at the minimum, just to make sure that everything gets loosened up and really get the blood flowing through the area. Now, if you've had a particularly hard playing day yesterday, that may not be enough to get you moving. So you can go longer than that, but 2 to 3 minutes is the minimum. Right, moving on to the second stage. Once we've gotten relaxed, as I said in the other video, we need to start to focus the lips in and get them moving and get them responding to the airstream. And we need to start to get the muscles of the embouchure engaged and get everything happening. So this is when I go to the lip buzzing. And when we get into talking about buzzing, be it lip buzzing or mouthpiece buzzing, this tends to be a kind of controversial subject. And lots of methods or teachers, seem to be against this. And here's the thing. There's definitely not only one way to do things. All I'm sharing with you here is what I found to work well for me, and I find this to be an efficient and effective way of getting warmed up. As I say, people do get very dogmatic about this. For yourself, if for whatever reason you believe that buzzing your lips isn't the way to go, that's fine. All I ask is that you try it. If it's not something you've ever done before because you've heard or somehow believe that it's not a good idea, but you've never tried it, then you don't have the proper information to make a comparison. So just try it, okay? If you've tried it before, it's quite possible that you didn't do it the right way, which is why I talk about how I'm going to set up the lip buzz. So again, try it my way, see if it's more effective for you. If you try it and you don't like it, absolutely fine. More power to you. At least you have all the information at your disposal, okay? So anyway, lip buzzing. Getting the lip buzz set up, there's a couple of things we need. We need to make sure we take a good supported breath, nice deep breath, and engage our breath support. And then we need to make sure that any grip that happens, any pressing of the lips together, doesn't occur in the center of the lips where the aperture is going to be. We want any grip that we use to be in the corners. So we're engaging these muscles. Now, they don't need to be super tight. They're going to be comparatively relaxed, but they are going to be engaged. Okay. So I was talking to somebody in a lesson about the other day. This tends to be a point of consternation. Just because we're relaxed doesn't mean that muscles aren't engaged. We're relaxed when we sleep, and there's muscles working then because we're breathing. Anyway, I get off track. We're going to make sure that any grip, any engagement in the muscles happens at the corners and not really at the center. Okay, we want the center to be nice and free and able to vibrate. So, the way we're going to do this, we're going to take a nice deep breath, so we've got air. We're going to close the lips naturally by saying am, so they come to a natural relaxed position. The teeth aren't going to be biting together. They may be close together, but you're certainly not biting. There's no stress or tension in the jaw at that point. M. Nice relaxed face. Nice relaxed jaw. The lips are together, but not pressed together. So, deep breath, M to close the lips, gentle stream of air just enough to part the lips in the center, and then to form the buzz, acting on the existing airstream, we're going to grip with the corners, together and towards the center. Okay? As I said in the other video, if I'm doing a big version of that, it's like the Maggio image of a chimpanzee blowing a kiss. That kind of a thing, in profile. That kind of movement pushes the lips forward and kind of towards the center. Here we go, let me demonstrate. M. That's the kind of thing we're looking for. The lips are pretty free in the center. And overall, the thing you're going to notice, particularly if you've lip buzzed before and this wasn't how you did it, is that the pitch is probably going to be lower. That's a good thing, as far as I'm concerned. We don't want the pitch of this to be too high. As I say, as far as I'm concerned, that's an indicator that I'm pressing the center of the lips together. That's not what I'm looking to do. I'm trying to engage and work on the corners, get that formation happening without too much tension in the center of my lips. Okay, so the first thing we're looking for as we do this, and the first thing I'm going to ask you to do every day as part of your warm-up after you've gotten loosened up by fluttering your lips, is going to depend on how much lip buzzing you've done before. If you're new to it and you're trying this for the first time, your first goal is simply to get a steady pitch happening. So, once again, I'll demonstrate. M. We're looking for a nice steady pitch that we can sustain. I think as a first goal, I think it's sensible to look for trying to sustain that for 10 seconds. If it's hard to do, then there's a couple of things you probably didn't do. You probably didn't take a deep enough breath. You probably didn't engage your breath support, keeping your chest up once your chest has risen up as you breathe. And if it's really hard to get that going, you know, it might take a little experimentation at first, but if it's really hard to get that going, you feel like you're really fighting it to get the air out, then you're probably pressing your lips together in the center. So just reevaluate that the grip is coming from the corners, not from the center. Okay, so the pitch is going to be whatever the pitch is. It's probably going to be on the low side. I know that my pitch for doing this, because I've done it this way for a long time, is going to be, without testing it, somewhere in the region of a low C or maybe a low D flat on the trumpet. Yeah, low C, right there. That's where I happen to do that. That's what works naturally for me. Your pitch may well be different to that. As long as it's not grossly higher than that, that's probably going to be fine. If it's lower than that, that's also definitely fine. Whatever pitch comes to you naturally, that's what I want you to try and begin to sustain. Okay? And just get it nice and steady. Now, as I said in the other video, lip buzzing, particularly when you're new to it, we don't want to do it for longer than 30 seconds a day. Not 30 seconds a number of times during the day, 30 seconds a day. And that's important because I don't want you to overdo anything here. We're not trying to overwork our lips. We're not trying to cause any damage. This should be fairly low impact. And this is also why it's good that we're doing it in the low register. Because really, because of the extra attention we have to apply to our lips to make that buzz happen, the level of effort, I guess, in the corner muscles and the muscles of the embouchure needed to buzz that low C is about the same as playing a high C on the trumpet. At least that's how it feels to me. It's not a precise relationship, but that's kind of how I feel about it. Okay, so we're trying to be low impact about this. We're not trying to overdo anything. Okay, so no more than 30 seconds a day to begin with, please. So, if you're trying to sustain for up to 10 seconds, if you're making it to 10 seconds, then great, or even a little longer. You're going to do that 2 or 3 times to make up to 30 seconds. And that's what you're going to do for the first little while. Month or so, couple months maybe, something like that, doing this every day to make sure it's sensibly developed. You'll probably find as you get used to it, particularly if you've started out very low, that the pitch comes up every day or every couple of days, and it becomes a little easier to raise that up a little. Okay, good. Anyway, if you've done some lip buzzing before and you feel like you're ahead of the game with this and like instantly being able to sustain that note for 10 seconds, that's no problem to you, then the next stage of this is to start to work on some intervals. And we're going to start out with half steps, with semitones. So whatever your natural kind of start pitch is, as I say, mine happens to be low C. If yours is a little lower than that, it's fine. I want you to figure out where that is, what feels good, and start there every day. Pitch it against the horn, pitch it against a piano, something like that, so you know what that pitch is. And then you're going to play down a half step and back up off of it. So, if I'm doing it on low C, whatever version of a pattern we do through this, we're always going to start on one note, go to a lower note, and come back again. It's like doing push-ups for the chops. Okay? So, we're going to start there, whatever that start note is, buzz the semitone interval, the half-step interval, and then, providing that went well and it was pretty easy, we're going to start again. We're going to repeat that and do it a half step lower. So I go down to B. Okay? And so on and so forth. Keep going down. Keep buzzing that lower and lower. Now, again, if you're new to lip buzzing, 30-second daily limit for the first month or so. Just because we don't want to overdo anything here, go down as far as you can chromatically during that time span. Once you get beyond the month's level, then, go a little deeper, go a little longer. Just be careful, don't overdo it. Once you've done that for some time, a few months, gotten to the stage where you can take it down through an octave's worth and get that pretty solid and feel good about it, then you can potentially make the pattern more elaborate. Some examples that we could work through that gradually get more and more challenging are to add an additional interval and increasing intervals. Okay, but you're always going to want a half step in there, so when you come to buzz this on the mouthpiece and when you come to play it on the horn, you can use that as a note bend, that half step that's in there somewhere. So, some other examples. If we're doing single note and just sustaining that for the first variation, the second variation is to do the half steps, and then let's say a whole step with a half step as well. So something like okay, next level. Okay, I'm just making increasing intervals and putting a half step underneath them. This is something you'll develop over time. And as I say, I suggest that being able to chromatically take that pattern down through a whole octave is a good benchmark for when you're able to move on to the next pattern. The more when we do this over weeks, months, years, then the longer we can go with our lip buzzing. Start out with 30 seconds a day, gradually increase it over time so you don't overdo things. Now, moving on to the mouthpiece buzzing quickly. This is now going to depend on what you're doing with the lip buzzing. If you're just doing static note, just trying to sustain a note with the lip buzz because you're newer to it, then what we're going to do on the mouthpiece is we're going to start at a G in the staff and do the half steps. Okay? We're going to start at this pitch, second line G, and do the half steps moving down chromatically for an octave. Pitch the notes always so we have good intonation. Moving down chromatically, so on and so forth. Now, you're not going to do that below regular trumpet range. So I would suggest if you start from that G, you try and go down as far as you can for an octave. Okay? No further than that, but up to an octave if you can do it. If you're newer to mouthpiece buzzing, again, it may be a struggle to get some of the deeper pitches at first. That's okay. Do some more tomorrow. And just to recap, mouthpiece buzzing 101, we're going to basically put the mouthpiece up where it lives when we're playing. We need to remember to take a nice deep breath. And we need to remember that this is just going to be a little more effort than playing the horn. It's partly why we do it. It's a little more resistance, it's a little more tension in the lips, but that's why it's a good form exercise to get everything engaged. The important thing we need to remember is we're not trying to press hard with the mouthpiece, so we need to hold the mouthpiece between finger and thumb at the end of the shank, preferably with our weaker hand. I'm right-handed, so that's my left hand. If you're left-handed, you'll want to do the same in your right hand. If you use both hands kind of equally, then make a judgment call. Decide what your weaker hand is. That's the one you're going to use. Okay? Buzzing that way, we're not able to press too hard. So if you've been buzzing, but you haven't been holding the mouthpiece this way, it's probably going to be a little more challenging at first. Again, we're trying to go low impact here. We're not trying to do too much. So whatever your start note is, that's gentle buzz. Okay? If you're already doing half steps on your lip buzz, then we're still going to do the same thing, but we're going to start a little higher. We're going to start at third space C. Okay? We're going to do the same thing. We're going to move down within trumpet range. So the lowest pitch we're going to do is off of a low F sharp. Okay, but that's where we're going to be. Got it? So if you're already doing half steps on the lip buzz, then that's what you're going to do still on the mouthpiece, but we're going to start from third space C in the staff and work down for about 1.5 octaves, or as close to that as you can get to begin with. Now, if you're doing a different pattern already on your lip buzz, that's the same pattern that you're going to do on your mouthpiece buzz. Again, just starting from that third space C. So if you're doing a combination of intervals, you're going to do the same thing. But once again, we're staying within regular trumpet range, because what I'm looking for is pitch. Do test your pitches. Do make sure that you're doing this with good intonation, whether you're lip buzzing, mouthpiece buzzing, or whatever. It's important. This is as much getting feedback about the quality of our airstream as anything else, and we want to make sure that's tied into pitches, so it'll help us. Then, whatever we're buzzing on the mouthpiece, that we're going to play the same thing for the third stage on the trumpet with the bend in there instead. If you're new to bending, then what I suggest you do is you play that semitone first, before you do the bend, like that. Just to make sure that you get down into the pitch and travel the full distance of that bend, as Laurie Frink used to say. Really get down in there with a nice smooth portamento and hang out at the bent pitch just for a moment before you come back, so you can get the feel of where that air balance is. And again, whatever pattern you're doing on the mouthpiece, whatever pattern you're doing on the lip buzz, that's what you're going to do on the horn with the bends. So if it's a wider interval and then a half step, same kind of a thing, work it down chromatically and just keep it within trumpet range. Good, so I hope this has cleared this up. All told, like I say, this warm-up is probably not going to take you more than about 10 minutes, maybe a little longer to begin with as you're getting used to the components. But 2 to 3 minutes of fluttering, 30 seconds of lip buzzing. You know, if you get all the way through an octave, it's probably going to take you 3 minutes maybe doing the mouthpiece buzz, something like that. Similar amount of time on the horn. It's a little less than 10 minutes. Okay? Just remember to breathe deeply, go easy with it. We're just trying to get everything kind of stretched out, blood flowing. We're not trying to work too hard here. What you'll find when you finally come to play things on the horn after this is that everything should be nice and centered and you should feel pretty focused already. Okay, so that's the warm-up basics. I hope this has been helpful. There's going to be some more videos like this coming up, so please subscribe to the channel for more, and I will see you very soon with another video. In the meantime, I hope you're all safe and well. Please stay home, practice safe social distancing, remember to wash your hands, and once you've done all of those things, go practice.